All right, we got a hungry hippos. Each of the hippo mouths are not detecting the balls when you eat them, so nobody's scoring any points. Let's figure this out. Start by taking all the screws off to take the top dome out.
Chomp on your favorite hippo.
All right, all the screws are off. Lift this up and out. Top of the dome. This game doesn't offer very good access, but what access we can get, we can take out this little piece right here to take the hippo's head off. It's just a piece of plastic pipe with some ends on it. And then we can take the head off. Hey, look it. There's some circuit boards down there with some sensors that read all the balls. It looks a little dirty in there. The game does give us a way to check those to see if they're working, but we just gotta kind of toss a couple of these in here first. I think there's 6 in there. You come down over here. You pull out our little control menu, and there's a button to check. So I put 6 in there, and only sees about 4 of them. So we probably have dirty sensors. All right, normally to get proper access to those, you have to take off all 4 hippos, take off the rest of this plastic dome, and then take out this teal platform piece to get access to that. We're gonna try and cheat though and see if we can just blow the sensors off using this shop vac. Set the shop vac from suck to blow. Need 2 hands for that. There we go. All right, let's see if this works. Dust out those sensors. Feeding this down here. Doesn't look much cleaner, but we'll see. Come back to our menu and try to clear out the game. All right, they're all empty right now. So we're just gonna toss a couple of these back in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Game still only sees 4 of them. That's not good. So it looks like we're gonna have to do this the hard way. All right, we just unplugged the game. We're gonna take all the rest of these screws out to get this plastic dome pieces off. Some of these screws are in a crappy spot, so you gotta use something a little smaller. Okay, all the screws are out. Now we just gotta take off the dome pieces. They just lift right off. All right, dome pieces are off. I just put them over here out of the way. Time to take the hippos off. Got to do the heads first. You just unscrew these. Get them right out. All right, I've decapitated all the hippos. Now for the rest of the bodies. Had to go get a special Allen key because I don't carry it on my tool pouch. 5.5 millimeter equivalent. Gets you these. All right, the handles are off. You gotta go underneath here. You'll find some bolts that holds the plastic body on. 11 millimeter equivalent if everything is still stock. right, all the bolts are out. We can just lift this whole thing right off. There's some screws and stuff. You might have to finagle and kind of stretch this around to get this off. That just lifts right off. There's the rest of it. The neck piece is next. Gotta take off these little black guardrails here. Fun fact, earlier versions of this game, balls would get stuck in this gap here when this was fully out. So they had to make it smaller. That's why these are here. So we just take these out. And then these just pop right off. Now get this pin out. There's the pin. Usually you can just use a pair of pliers to yoink this bad boy off. All right, pin's out. Just give that a push and there we go. Now you can just lift this right off. One remove hippo neck. Luckily, we do not have to remove this. It is removable. You can just take out those right there. It's 4 bolts. I think stock, these are 4mm screws or 4mm hex screws. We changed them to 11mm equivalent bolts. All right, I got to do that to the other 3. All right, I've skinned the rest of the hippos and removed their spines. Gruesome stuff. Also got some soap and stuff to wash up with because they dirty. Fun maintenance fact, if you see powder like this, something's wrong. And specifically for hungry hippos, it's usually these pieces either come loose or wear away. Yeah, that doesn't look too good, does it? Yeah, that's not good. I don't know if I have a replacement for that. All right, well, I found some used ones that look like they're in good shape and a couple new ones. So we'll see which ones of these are bad and loose and replace them or tighten them down. There was almost nothing left of that one. It goes right down here. Right there on the other side. I decided to use the ones that were used but still good, so we're going with that. All right, I got those pieces on there. Let's check the other ones. I'm sure some of these are loose. So far, all of them had loose ones, but found a broken one. Got a brand spanking new one to replace this broken one with. Also looks like it's missing a nut. So good news and bad news. I don't have metal replacement parts for that blue one, but I found a whole other yellow neck that's in good shape. So we're just gonna have a blue hippo with a yellow neck for a bit while the new one comes in, I guess. All right, now that we've done our maintenance on those, was not expecting to need to do that. We gotta remove these balls from the play field and then take these off. There's some connectors here and connectors right under here. And then we can take the whole thing off. Spare box for these. If you got all the screws on the outside, there's 4 screws in the center. Take those out. All right, center screws are out. All the remaining screws are out. Now we can lift this up here gently. And there's cables underneath you gotta unplug. Underneath here and underneath this corner. All right, you can't see it, but trust me, all the connectors have been unplugged, and you will need somebody else to help you lift this because it has the structural integrity of a wet paper towel. All right, now that the cover's off, we can finally get access to the original thing we wanted to clean. These ramps here go underneath each of the hippos' mouths and go to this exit chute. Right by each exit chute, there's a solenoid that kicks the balls back up onto the playfield. I mentioned it before, but there's a long circuit board with a bunch of sensors that checks for balls. Those things are dirty and not seeing the balls above them, so we gotta clean them. Before I actually wipe down all the sensors, I'm gonna go get a blower to blow out dust out of this whole thing. Got a little shop blower. Let's see how dirty this is. Whoa! Well, that was dusty. All right, now that the dust has been removed, so I'm gonna clean the sensors. You could use a microfiber cloth, and if you got some isopropyl alcohol, higher concentrate the better, but I just got some diluted Windex type stuff that I'm gonna lightly spray kind of all over and clean up. Not the most recommended thing, but in a pinch. All right, I've wiped down all the sensors and let them dry for a little bit. We're gonna turn this on and feed the balls through and see how well we did. So we'll just plug this back in and wait for this bad boy to start up. Just waiting for this to start up, and yeah, it runs on Ubuntu. All right, game's loaded. Let's hit our ramps button. And let's see if these work. Well, it seems like the game seems to be recognizing them all, because it's going a little nuts. It's like a perpetual motion machine. But I think we're good. All the sensors seem to be working. Testing it off like this might produce a little bit of a false positive because there's more light going into the sensors, but it should be good. We gotta put this back on and plug everything back in. Just gonna unplug this first. All right, playfield's back on. I've plugged in this edge connector for the lights. I gotta unscrew those panels to get underneath them. So we take this out. That's a long screw. There we go. So there's that. We gotta plug that back in. All of our wires. We're all plugged back in. Fun fact, if you ever get these mixed up on which color is which, there's a couple switches here and a little chart that'll tell you which is which. So if you get them just backwards, just flick the switches to the correct player. And we put that back on. So now we got to do the rest of them. And that should be the last one right there. Come on. Oh. There we go. Alright, now for all the rest of the screws that hold this whole piece in place. When putting all the screws back in this thing, the 3 holes are on the sides. The middle one is the one you want. The outside ones are for the dome. Right, all my screws for this is in. Time to start rebuilding the Hippos. I'm gonna give these a little bit of a clean first. All right, while cleaning these things, I just keep finding stuff more and more wrong. Yeah, that's missing a screw. All right, went back to the office, found another broken one, or one that's missing a screw. So I can make one good one out of this. Got one out of the orange Hippo's neck. Let's try and make a good one out of these. All right, one 4.5 millimeter Allen key later, and we got one good piece. Put it back in the game. They do not give you a lot of space to get some pliers in there for that. We're attached. It's on correctly. Put it back in the game. All right, get this pin in here. Line all this up. The pin on the end here to lock that in place. There you go. All right, all 4 Hippo necks have been reattached. Remember, we have 2 yellow ones because the blue one is kind of broken. We gotta wait for a new one. Time to put the bodies back on. All right, all 4 of these are now clean. Time to put them back on the game. The one for orange Hippo has seen better days. I do not have a replacement for it. Oh well. All right, bodies are back on. Gotta screw them in and attach the heads. All right, putting the Hippo's heads on here. Line this pipe up with this gap. Goes all the way through. All the way through, just kind of cap this back on and make it tight. All the hippo heads are attached, but I forgot a piece. These need to go on the neck, so I got to take these back off. I'll take the orange one off. Forgot to put those on. All right, last one. Last one, nice and tight. So all the hippos are back together except for the handles. This back on. The handles are back on. Time for the dome. Putting these on, make sure you get the overlap correct. I've done it backwards before by accident. All right, most of the screws are in. We had to save a couple for the top. So putting the top on now. Top is on. Put the doors back on and plug it in. All the doors are on except the one that gives us access. The game's on, we just gotta wait for it to load. All right, game's fully loaded. Let's check our ramps. And I see balls in there. It's detecting every single one that's still stuck in there. It spit out 3, but it sees them all. We're fixed.